So far, we've been talking about a number of strategies to provide better password security, such as password length, password complexity, and some of the pitfalls associated with password reuse. Authentication is the process of a user proving his identity to the system by providing some sort of unique credential, such as something you know, something we're all familiar with, like a password or a PIN number. But there's two other factors of authentication that can strengthen the overall security of our systems, such as something you have, like an RSA token that generates a unique code every 30 to 60 seconds, or using a credit card that requires you to also enter your zip code. The credit card being something you have, the zip code being something that you know, and finally something that you are, such as biometrics, a unique attribute of an individual, such as a fingerprint, a facial scan, a voice scan that allows you to uniquely identify yourself to the system. Now we're going to go through a quick example of setting up Google's Gmail to set up two-factor authentication. Phil's going to help us through this demonstration now. Good to see you again, Phil.
Oh, thanks, Pierre. Good to see you as well. Like Pierre mentioned, we're going to go ahead and jump into a quick demo about setting up two-factor authentication on Gmail. The first thing you need to do is actually log into your Gmail account. But I'd like to also remind you that while we're doing Gmail in this demonstration, setting up two-factor authentication is just as easy and simple process for other email accounts and other email services. The first thing you do is click up on the settings in the top right corner and click on the My Account option. Then proceed over to the Sign In and Security section and click on the Signing Into Google link. Once we're in the Signing Into Google section, scroll down a little bit under the password and sign-in method, and you see an option called two-step verification. Click on the Off icon to get into the two-step verification process. And what two-step verification here, it's explaining that it helps add an extra layer of security. Click on the Get Started icon, and it's going to want to authenticate that you are actually the owner, an individual of this account, so that when you enable an extra authentication measure, types like a phone number, which we'll input on the next screen, that you actually have that device in your possession and you'll be able to establish a two-factor process. So here it wants you to add a phone number, and it can send you codes in two different ways. You can get text messages or actually get a phone call where the code is repeated to you over the phone. I'm going to switch over to a different email account that actually has two-factor authentication enabled to show you the process. But the next two steps of this simple setup process include clicking Next and verifying, and then completing the setup to enable two-step verification. All right, so we return to the new email account. We enter the password for the account. And as you can see here in an indication, it says two-step verification. So what it wants me to do is wait until I get a text message, which just came into my cell phone, and it's going to provide me with a 6-digit PIN that I'll enter as a verification code. The next step would be to click Done, and it would actually log you into your email. But at this time, I'm not going to log myself into my email here so that you guys can see everything. In a quick summary, two-factor authentication setup is a very simple process, and it adds an exceptionally important level of security to your email, as well as anything else that you can enable it for in your life.
Okay, let's just go over some of the strategies that we can utilize to have a more secure access to all of the systems that we use every day. Create complex and long passwords. Eliminate password reuse. Use a password manager like KeePass, a free utility that you can use to manage all of your complex passwords. And enable two-factor authentication, either something you know, something you have, or something you are.